Do you ever have a hard time getting your partner to talk about sex with you? I'm Heather Elizabeth of AuthenticSexualYou.com, and that's what we're talking about this week. It's really fantastic if you have an engaged partner who's already willing and already sex positive and already super happy to talk about sex with you. But many of us come to our relationships from a really different place, and we haven't had that kind of sex positivity or that kind of openness around sexuality in our lives. So if you've got a partner who doesn't want to initiate conversations or doesn't know how to talk about sex with you, what do? I got 2 tips for you. Number 1 is the direct route. You come right out and ask them. And that means sitting your partner down or sending them an email or making them a nice dinner and then saying over wine, "Hun, our sex life is really important to me and I want to talk to you about it." Now, the key to the direct ask is that you flip it and make it all about your partner. Instead of coming out and saying, "I want to do this fantasy, I want these things, I want to be non-monogamous, I want to talk about exploring more anal play," like whatever the thing is you want to talk about, you don't start there. You actually flip it around and say, "I think we should talk more about our sex life, and I want to know what would make you feel comfortable in having this conversation. Do you maybe want to have it over email? Do you want to have it for 20 minutes and then take a 10-minute break? Do you want to make sure we have it while we're snuggling? What can I do to help you feel comfortable having this conversation with me?" And it's really about prioritizing your partner's needs so that they are willing to be brave and to sit in the vulnerability around this conversation with you. Option number 2 for having this conversation is the more passive, and that's role modeling talking about sex with your partner. So even though the direct ask feels vulnerable, to come right out and say to your partner, "Hey, I want to talk about this with you," I find the role modeling is actually more vulnerable making, because you have to be willing to put yourself out there and have the conversation whether or not your partner wants to engage fully with you. Because here's the thing about role modeling. You can't expect any specific response from your partner. You have to be okay with whatever response they give you, and you don't get to put a time frame on their processing. So role modeling just means coming out and saying, "Hey, sex is a super important part of my life and I want to have this conversation with you. So I thought I would share these things with you, or I thought I would share some fantasies I had with you, and maybe you want to share your fantasies back. It's okay if you don't. I just want to talk with you about this, and I want to help get you more comfortable. So I'm just going to start talking about sex, and I hope you'll join me." Like I said, that can be really vulnerable making, because you have to be willing to go out there, and your partner might say that they don't want to join you, and that's okay. These conversations will be awkward. They will be uncomfortable. You will both blush a lot when you get going. That's completely normal, and that's completely natural. That's completely to be expected. The great thing is that once the 2 of you or the 3 of you or the 4 of you find your groove about talking about sex, these conversations become a lot easier. The awkwardness kind of drops away, fades a little bit, and you get to sit in the nitty-gritty and have really great conversations. You just got to be willing to go through a little bit of awkwardness in the early stages, like learning any skill. If you have your own comments for talking about sex with your partner, or your own suggestions, leave them in the comments below. And as always, like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next week.